Hello everybody, this is Snarist again, and I'm back with the continuation of my God of War 3 Chaos Mode walkthrough. This is part 10, Poseidon's Chamber, and we've finally got our hands on the Nemean Cestus, my favourite God of War weapon of all time, and in my opinion one of the very best, possibly the best, definitely top 5. And this is sort of where they introduce the Cestus Slam, but I think the Cestus Slam is kind of stupid, but again it gives you infinite magic in this area so you can go ahead and use it. I'm not going to bother though. So at level 3 it's going to do a lot of damage, but once we get it to level 5 it's going to do so much more damage and so many enemies are going to be quite trivialized. But the real issue is going to be dealing with multiple amounts of them. Now the only combos you really want to worry about with the Cestus is just spamming square so you can knock them away. But when you're dealing with groups of enemies, as long as you've got a moment where they can't really hit you or you're waiting for them to come towards you, if you just spam triangle you can do that, the ground slam and then the double slam. And believe it or not, if you get the Minotaurs on the right angle and you get them within range, you can knock them all into the air. It's really useful. You can't spam it of course because eventually they armor through it, but as long as you give them a bit of a break, you can do it again and again. And you want to be careful with the Cestus as well, because if you're blocking and you push square, like I know you might intend to drop your guard and then attack with square, but sometimes there's a little bit of a delay where he'll do that spinning attack where the Cestus sends out the ends of them on chains and you spin around and do an attack. You're still vulnerable for a whole second or so when that happens, and it's really dangerous. Now be careful with these guys here, because if you attack at the wrong angle at the wrong time, one of them will stab you with their spear. And see, like that, they're just going nuts. So I'm just going to do the block and square to do around, but the charge they do with that shield, the spear, these things are just so dangerous. I was mad that I lost this much health. Like, it's almost worth just starting over, getting killed and then reloading the checkpoint and then just trying again, doing much better. But yeah, beware of the shield guys, they are very dangerous, do not underestimate them. More times than not they will catch you off guard and hit you before you hit them. It's not fun. And I just want to take time to apologise again just for the weird bug that I got with the Hercules boss fight, which allowed me to skip the entire final phase pretty much. Talking back over it in the last video, I'm almost tempted to go back to God of War 3 again one day, because I will, because I love this game. I'm never going to stop playing it. And I'm almost tempted to use that video where I discuss the Hercules boss fight as a reference, so that I can go into that fight again, hit him a few times, go into the Cestus in the menu, and upgrade it to level 3, hit him a few more times, and see if the bug repeats itself, and to see if I can skip that final phase. Because if I can do it over and over again, then it's a legitimate strategy to skip the entire phase, and it's a real strange one. Or maybe I just got lucky. By the way, if you stand back here, before this pillar, a lot of them become pacified unless they're close enough to move forward. I got very lucky there, I should have been grabbed, but I wasn't. But yeah, just the triangle spam is so elite. And if that turns out to be a legitimate strategy, then by all means use it. Like, I know I said as soon as you get the Cestus, upgrade it as much as you can, but just in case, hit him a few times, upgrade the Cestus to level 3, and then hit Hercules again a few more times, and to see if that works. Now this whole section here is a little bit tricky at a couple times, but for the most part it's not that bad. It gets rather gruesome as well, as this poor innocent sort of slave girl of Poseidon's, I suppose. You end up escorting her through very brutishly, and then you end up jamming her in a bunch of gears just to keep the door open so you can get on through to the next area. And funnily enough, if you go back through there, because the door's now jammed open, you can see that there's nothing left of her except just a giant bloody mess, and it's kind of gruesome. Like, on one hand I understand that Kratos does whatever he has to in order to survive and get to his objective, but the way you handle this woman in this sort of like escort mission execution type thing, it just seems rather gruesome and off-putting. Like, I think everyone can kind of understand that this is a little bit far, even for him. I don't know if I'm just talking to my ass here, but in the section here, just stand near this. I don't know if the dogs can grab you in this particular section, but just in case they can't, hold up your block, wait till they get closer, and then just kick them in. I think you can kick them a few times, but if you try to kick them a 4th time, then they'll die. So kind of let them come to you, get them in there. I think you've got to kick about 4 dogs onto the platform there, so you can get into Poseidon's little chamber there. And you'll actually find Poseidon's conch shell, which is his godly position, because you couldn't find it after you killed him. So instead you'll have to search his chamber for it, and there's also a chest in there. There's also an interesting little note in there that gives a bit of exposition to show that even though Poseidon was willing to defend Olympus and everything, there's still a big part of him that felt unsure about Zeus's rule, that him being ruled by fear kind of set the Olympians down a dark path, and he kind of wondered if maybe letting Kratos live all those years ago was a big mistake, which it was, of course it was. But maybe Zeus being as reckless as he has and continuing to allow mortal women to give birth to all these demigods, it's kind of led to their undoing. And so Poseidon kind of both loves and mistreats this slave woman of his as a way of giving stress relief. It's just a little bit of characterization to Poseidon because there really isn't all that much. I still think it's strange because, again, of course, it was retconned that there's going to be sequels, but in the first God of War, Zeus is almost kind of upbeat and kind of nice and looked very similar to Poseidon because Poseidon had like an old man's visage, and Hades looked like an actual monster, whereas in God of War 2 and God of War 3, Poseidon looks kind of a little bit more youthful. Got tattoos everywhere, looks kind of young, and Hades himself is wearing this giant helm and he looks all mysterious. He's got all these spikes coming out of him. So I don't necessarily hate these new designs, but I kind of prefer the old ones for what little we saw of them in God of War 1. So anyway, just keep those dogs from lowering the platform, and you'll be fighting the enhanced versions of these guys with the hammers, these statues. So you'll see them glowing orange. Once they start turning yellow, they're almost ready to go into the next phase. They don't do any different attacks, but that's how you know you're close to stunning them, and they take a lot more punishment than the old ones. Just be aware of them getting ready to swing around and smack you with the hammer, but they do a lot more damage. But thankfully, if you get the execution off, you can actually build up your rage meter that way. You don't get all that many orbs, but you do get some. You want to be careful with this fight too, because depending on how much damage you take in this and survive will affect how much more tough the next fight's going to be. So yeah, just wait for the right opening, don't get too greedy, keep in mind that whether they slam their hammer to the side, I just got hit by that and look, almost all my health's gone. So whether they swing to the side like that or just slam down, they might do another one to the left. You've got to be really careful and pick your timing. If you wait long enough, you can actually tell when none of them are attacking, and then you get a few cheeky hits in there. So you can be a lot more patient than I am, but you know, it's kind of hard with a game like this to be patient because you just feel so powerful and so capable that a fight that draws on forever just, I don't know, it's like kryptonite. So don't get too greedy with the chests here because there'll be a couple of guys with shields. Stand back a bit now that I think about it, wait for the first two to attack because the other two won't attack you if you stand back here. But now you've got to fight all four of them because of my foolishness, so don't fall for what I did. Just, if you can, just get one triangle hit in there to slam the ground, but if the shield doesn't break, just put your block up immediately. Use them as battering rams, slam into them, execute them. And whatever you need, whether it's health or magic, go ahead and use that chest. Or maybe I tell a lie, I think it was just a magic chest. But there'll be a couple more chances for you to stock up on health. This being another example. Because you're going to need this for the next encounter because it can be a little tricky. Because you're going to fight more shield guys and you're going to deal with another statue. Now in this encounter right here, hold the block. Because they charge towards you and you're off screen, your character's off screen and you can still get hit. It's so stupid and I hate that. But again, come back this way and you can actually pacify these enemies. And when you do, you dodge. You can't aim it perfectly, it doesn't always work, but you can do the dodge and the triangle to kind of hit the enemies from a distance and stagger them. It can work, but again, the aim's a little bit finicky. Just being mindful of this guy here, thankfully the fight goes much smoother. The shield guys are all dead, all the other enemies are dead, and so it's just 1v1, and this is really easy. Pay close attention to whether or not he's going to slam that hammer to the side when he gets up and recovers. You don't need to use your Rage of Olympus, you don't even really need to use magic. You've only got the Cestus and that's all you need to do. And it's good practice as well for not relying on it. And unfortunately you're going to crush this poor woman in these gears. I mean honestly, with the boots of Hermes I wouldn't imagine that this would be a difficult task for Kratos. It kind of makes me wish that the boots of Hermes had more of a purpose. instead of just dashing across the ground and jumping up into the air or launching enemies up. At the very least, you could give them like a damage boost, a speed boost, like running around. You sacrifice a part of your item bar and you leave it stuck there for a few seconds, and so you can move around a lot faster, but you can't recharge your item bar for a little while. Just something more creative like that. And before, with that little cutscene I just skipped over, there is some stardust in the room. It's pretty easy to tell, and you just get a chest from there. It gets you, hopefully, one Phoenix Feather that you need to get your second to last upgrade for your magic. But yeah, like I was saying with the Boots of Hermes, I really wished there was more to it. Like, imagine being able to sacrifice your entire, item bar meter thing, and so it doesn't recharge for 10 seconds, but in those 10 seconds you can get a speed boost where you don't increase your damage per se, but you walk around, you jog around, or you evade much faster. Wouldn't that be so cool to do? You could pull off a lot of combos with that. Because I've seen some people do combo mad videos with God of War, but the problem is a lot of them are in training mode and just on singular enemies that can't fight back. Because the truth is, because magic is limited and items have a certain cooldown and they don't have much uses for combos, and everything dies a lot faster than, or a lot of large enemies you can't even, you can't juggle in the air like Minotaurs for very long and all that. It's just really tough to pull it off. So, jokingly enough, I was going to do a whole bunch of different videos, 30 plus parts for this God of War 3 walkthrough, but I decided to make some of these videos a little bit longer and just sort of squeeze in all the little exploration moments or little things here and there. I jokingly referred to this part as the Aphrodite boss fight. It's a real hard one, if you get what I mean. But yeah, when you introduce yourself to her, if you just want to say yes, that you do want to stay with her, you can just go ahead, do some easy quick time event stuff and get some orbs. The second time you do it and onwards, it's a little tricky. So yeah, her godly position is her garter belt, and it's just behind the bed. You can fly over to it, but be careful flying back out of it. Not that it really does anything to your progress, but sometimes the camera can flip out and you can fly to your death, because there is a gap there if you didn't know. But there's some pots and pans lying around. There's a couple of red chests off to the left side of the bed, and on the right side of the bed near this portal there is another chest in here, and in it you will get a Minotaur horn. And so you just go through the Hyperion gate and you give the unfortunate implication to Hephaestus that you may or may not have cuckolded him by sleeping with Aphrodite, who is supposed to be his wife. But now we're moving on to the next part, and I'll see you then.